Okay, so I am re-recording my notes for ticks and Lyme disease. Let's quickly get into it. Lyme disease is caused by a bacteria called Borrelia burgdorferi. It's transmitted to humans via bites of infected black-legged ticks. If untreated, it can produce a wide range of symptoms depending on the stage of the infection. Early signs include fever, chills, headaches, muscle, and joint aches. Notably, you'll see swollen lymph nodes, erythema migrans, or MR or EM rashes, otherwise known as the bullseye rash. As the disease progresses, rashes can grow bigger over several days. These rashes tend to happen at the site of the tick bite and can appear on any part of the body. And if a tick bites you, rashes don't always appear. So later signs and symptoms, days or even months after, can include severe headaches, neck stiffness, more bullseye rashes, facial palsy or facial paralysis, intermittent pains in tendons, muscles, joints, and bones. This is called Lyme arthritis. Shortness of breath, brain inflammation, nerve pain, and then shooting pains in hands or feet. And notably, it can lead to heart arrhythmias known as Lyme carditis. So again, complications are Lyme carditis, which occurs when the bacteria enters heart tissues and can interfere with normal electrical signals of the heart, resulting in heart block. This can lead to fainting, heart palpitations, and can be fatal. Diagnosis of Lyme disease is detected in the blood. It's using 2 steps. If the first test is negative, no further testing is required. If the first test is positive, you need to test again. And if it's positive the second time, you are positive for Lyme disease. These tests detect for antibodies in the blood for Lyme disease. And antibodies can take weeks to develop, meaning if you were bitten recently, you might not have the antibodies and could not, the diagnosis can be a false negative because you don't have those antibodies. So treatment with antibiotics in the early stages can lead to rapid recovery and complete recovery. The antibiotics are doxycycline, amoxicillin, and cefuroxime. I don't know. So again, Borrelia burgdorferi is spread by black-legged ticks. Some preventions can include insect repellents, removing ticks properly, applying pesticides, and reducing tick habitats. So ticks have a life cycle of 2 to 3 years, and at each stage of life, the tick must have a blood meal to transform into the next stage. Females need blood to produce eggs. So some ways to detach a tick properly are to use clean, fine-tipped tweezers, grasping the tick close to the surface of the skin as possible, and then pulling upward at a steady, even pressure. Twisting or jerking can break off parts of the mouth and can remain in the skin. After removing the tick, it's important to clean the area of the skin with alcohol, and it's important not to crush ticks. When we do that, the bacteria in the tick can be spread. So there are 4 notable life cycles of the tick: eggs, larvae, nymphs, and adults. So eggs are usually laid by females in the spring. That completes the female's 2 to 3 year lifespan. Eggs are brown/red and can be translucent. One tick can produce 1,000 eggs. Ticks can't lay eggs directly on hosts, and eggs are found under leaf litter, leaf brush, or in other warm, soft places. Larvae. So at this stage, larvae can become infected with Borrelia burgdorferi or Lyme disease and spread it. So eggs hatch in the summer and can be infected by the disease. So it's important to note that eggs can't get the disease transmitted to them. Ticks usually get infected from their host, white-footed mouse. If the tick feeds on other mammals like raccoons that don't have Lyme disease, they won't get infected with Lyme disease. When ticks are infected with Lyme disease, they carry the disease for the rest of their lives. Usually after a larva feeds, they'll fall from the host and molt into a nymph. Nymphs can also become infected at this stage when they feed on animals that carry Borrelia burgdorferi. Nymphs are usually active late summer, fall, and spring, and are very active in temperatures above 2 Celsius. In colder months, ticks will be dormant under leaf litter, snow-covered areas, and shaded areas. When it's warm, nymphs will look to feed on their next host, and if they are infected, they can transmit the disease. They can also contract other diseases at this point too. For example, babiosis, parasites, and other diseases too. Once attached, they can usually feed for 4 to 5 days before dropping off and transitioning into an adult. So usually nymphs transition into adults in the fall. Ticks can seek out humans and transmit the disease as adults. About 50% of female black-legged ticks are infected with the pathogen in the US. In the wintertime, ticks can find shelter under leaf litter and are usually inactive below 2 Celsius. If there's a warm winter, ticks can be active in late February, early March. After feeding, ticks look to mate. Males die after mating, and females can produce thousands of eggs and then die. So, black-legged ticks were mainly found in eastern Ontario near the US border. Now they can be found all over southern Ontario, especially near the border. They can be found as far north as North Bay, and the amount of Lyme disease in Ontario is only going to increase. More ticks means more exposure to Lyme disease, and more Lyme disease can lead to improper antibiotic prescriptions because Lyme disease wasn't a common disease in Ontario before, and it's completely new to the medical community. Borrelia burgdorferi is the causative agent of Lyme disease. It's a corkscrew-shaped, very mobile bacteria. It's very mobile in different mediums and very adaptive. Its main reservoir is small ground-foraging mammals, notably the white-footed mouse, and can also be found in small birds. Borrelia burgdorferi can be found in the midgut and of the black-legged ticks and are transmitted through their saliva. Black-legged ticks cannot transmit the bacteria to its eggs. Ticks can only get it from feeding on something that has Borrelia burgdorferi, for example, white-footed mice. So black-legged tick larvas usually get Lyme disease from feeding from small ground-foraging mammals. Again, black-legged ticks need blood meals to survive, and Borrelia burgdorferi can be transmitted through the blood meal. Once infected, ticks are infected for life, and during infection, the initial number of Borrelia burgdorferi will be decreased during the metamorphosis of the black-legged tick larva into a nymph. So it's important to note when metamorphosis happens, a large number of the bacteria are killed, but not completely. Borrelia burgdorferi will begin to recolonize and stay dormant until the next stage of the tick's life. So, when black-legged tick nymphs, ticks react to temperature, and when they attach to their host for blood meals, the heat and blood from the hosts reactivate the bacteria in the midgut. This influx of nutrients from the blood also helps reactivate the bacteria. For transmission to occur, Borrelia burgdorferi must move up to the black-legged tick salivary glands, and this can take up to 24 hours, so it's better to remove ticks as soon as you can. The more blood black-legged ticks consume, the more bacteria will recolonize in the tick, and the longer it will be on the host, and the likelihood of bacteria being mixed with the saliva while the tick feeds is increased. So, the Borrelia burgdorferi life cycle is very similar to the life cycle of black-legged ticks. Borrelia burgdorferi are usually found on competent hosts, usually small ground foraging mammals. They're competent because the bacteria can grow to large numbers in the host, and the bacteria don't cause Lyme disease in the host. Black-legged tick larvae and nymphs are the main ones to maintain the cycle of transmission because female black-legged ticks only feed on incompetent hosts. Incompetent hosts are large mammals, and they're incompetent because bacteria can't grow to large numbers within these hosts, and the bacteria causes Lyme disease in these hosts. Some other things to consider about ticks. When ticks transmit Borrelia burgdorferi to incompetent hosts, such as humans or dogs, the bacteria can accumulate large numbers in these hosts or retransmitted. Therefore, it's a dead end for the bacteria. Deers that are infected with Borrelia burgdorferi, it's a dead end for them because deers have special compounds in their blood that kills Borrelia burgdorferi. Incompetent hosts can also get sick from the infection, while competent hosts don't get sick. Black-legged ticks are usually found under leaf litter, and trees that produce leaf litter, like oak trees or deciduous trees, also provide nutrients for small ground foraging mammals. If we have a more diverse ecosystem, the bacteria will be diluted. In southern Ontario, we're expanding into the greenbelt and destroying ecosystems and diversity. This could be a reason for the increase of ticks and Lyme disease. Birds can also be responsible for distributing ticks long distances. So, there are other types of ticks, such as the American dog ticks, that can contract Borrelia burgdorferi, but when American dog ticks undergo metamorphosis, American dog ticks can kill off the bacteria completely. In Borrelia burgdorferi, that's not the case. It can survive on black-legged ticks. So, Ixodes scapularis. Sorry about that. A walk-in complaint just came. So, let's continue. Black-legged ticks, or Ixodes scapularis, are arachnids. They're external parasites for mammals, birds, and some reptiles. They can attach to humans at all stages of life and will suck blood for nutrition. Black-legged ticks do not fly, jump, or move quickly, and they can survive winters. For identifying, larvae have 6 legs and are really small and hard to find, but once they become nymphs, they have 8 legs and are asexual. Nymph is the most common cause of transmission of Lyme disease because they are active during summer months when we are wearing shorts and our skin is exposed. They are also very tiny and hard to find, and when we find them, it's usually too late. Adult males and females. Females produce eggs and consume a lot of blood and can transmit Lyme disease. Males do not consume blood and are smaller and do not transmit because they don't feed a lot. Black-legged ticks can be found under leaf litter. Metamorphosis usually occurs in the wintertime, and they can live 2 to 3 years. Borrelia burgdorferi can potentially be aiding ticks to survive colder temperatures. We can find ticks in long leaves, tall grasses, leaf litter, and humid areas. Ticks survive best in mixed deciduous forests because the shade and humidity prevents dehydration in summer. Leaf litter also provides protection in the winter. Ticks are usually active above 4 Celsius, and they're very active in spring and autumn. Only nymphs are mostly active in warmer temperatures. 25 Celsius is the upper limit for tick activity, and adults are mainly active in the autumn. Black-legged ticks are responsible for keeping the transmission going for Borrelia burgdorferi, and birds are believed to be responsible for distributing ticks and bacteria long distances. Humans are accidental hosts because it doesn't benefit the bacteria to infect the human for its own life cycle. We are dead ends. Black-legged ticks can sense vibrations, CO2, and heat when they're questing for hosts. They'll climb leaves, tall grass, and stick out their legs and hope we brush by. Once they stick to us, they'll bite deep into us and attach to us. Once black-legged ticks bite us, the bacteria can be transmitted into the skin. Since it's only in the skin, blood and antibodies cannot get to it. This usually forms the bullseye rash. Blood and our body heat up and nourish the tick, leading to the reactivation of Borrelia burgdorferi. So with the reactivation of Borrelia burgdorferi, we're increasing the chances of the bacteria moving to the salivary glands of the tick, possibly transmitting to a new host. Only nymphs and female black-legged ticks can transmit Borrelia burgdorferi, again because males don't feed long enough and larvae do not have the bacteria when they feed. Adult females can grow to the size of grapes. How to identify ticks? All ticks have 8 legs. Festoons are small rectangular squares on the back margin of the abdomen. So it's teeth-like squares that can be found on the butt of the tick. They are found on all hard ticks, but not on ixodes ticks. So ixodes ticks include black-legged ticks, groundhog ticks, and squirrel ticks. Festoons are found in all stages of life, except the egg stage. So next is the scutum, which is the plate or shield found on the back of ticks. Scutums can be differentiated by color pattern, shape, and size. Male scutums cover the whole abdomen. When females feed, their abdomen can outgrow the scutum, and the scutum won't cover it all. For black-legged ticks, black-legged ticks have black scutums and are usually rounded, and they have round edges and very oval-like, and they don't have festoons. Groundhog ticks, their scutums are shaped like shields. They have sharper edges compared to the rounded edges of black-legged ticks. They don't have festoons. Squirrel ticks also don't have festoons, and the scutum is shaped like a shield. However, it is longer than a groundhog tick's scutum. So again, black-legged ticks have black rounded scutums. Groundhog ticks have angular shield-shaped scutums, and squirrel ticks have elongated shield-like scutums that are angular as well. So brown dog ticks have notches on the outer edges of their scutum, and they have festoons. These notches on the brown dog tick are their eyes, and notably, this tick can survive indoors, most commonly in dog kennels. And lastly, we have the Lone Star tick. The female has a solid brown angled scutum with a center that has a gold spot, and it partially covers the abdomen. Male scutums are solid brown in color and gold. They have gold-colored eyes on the edges. Lastly, we have the American dog tick, and its scutum is very ornate with a white pattern. And that's all for ticks and Lyme disease.